and welcome everybody to Empower Hour. It is now the month of September. Can you believe that? September. This year has been flying by, for at least for me and many other people that I know. Welcome back to being back at school for the children that are going back to school. Welcome back to the stay-at-home moms that are doing your schooling with your children at home. So welcome back to a very busy life after a fun summer. And we're happy to have you here today. Some of the really great things that are coming into the month of September for Empower Hour is we have our Women of the Month. Our Women of the Month this month is Alicia Longmire. Welcome, Alicia. Congratulations. We're so happy to have you be a part of our team here at Empower Hour. And I know that you're extremely active on our social media accounts. And I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of our group. And thanks for being so encouraging all the time. We also have a wonderful business of the month, and her name is Susan Textera, and she's got a coaching business. She's also extremely active on the social media world. She also was a speaker for us a couple times, and very a wonderful, kind soul. So we're so happy to be a part, have you be a part of Empower Hour, Susan, and thank you so much for being so active. We have a wonderful speaker today, April Gaines. And then we also have, I just want to remind you guys, we also have Empower Hour next Wednesday at 12 p.m. And we'll have a very dynamic speaker for that event as well. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick introduction real quickly into who our speaker is. We also have a couple of events coming up in the near future. We're getting confirmation on the one in October that may or may not happen depending on the new potential new restrictions. But it's going to be a murder mystery dinner. And then at the end of the year, we'll be doing a toy drive for the Boys and Girls Club in Solano, in Sacramento, and in Los Angeles to help the children who are in need, who really could use our help, especially during the season of Christmas. So just want a reminder of that too. Okay, so now we're going to have our amazing speaker today. April joins us today from the East Coast, if you want to call it the East Coast area. Definitely not from California. There was a little mix up on the timing on that, so I apologize about that again, Miss April. But we're super happy to have you here with us today. So April is does many amazing things, but what she's going to be speaking to us about today specifically is she talks about permanent self-esteem and inner peace. I know a lot of us are really struggling with this specific issue right now. I know I personally have been, and I'm really excited to hear about this. She has a 7-step process here, and she's got an entire amazing speech prepared here for you guys. So we're happy to have you. April, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm very excited, and I'm glad to have this opportunity. So where do I start? So for a living, I do mental health and substance abuse counseling. That's what I do for a living. So I have a little bit of the clinical background, but more importantly, I have the personal life background where I grew up from a home that, it definitely wasn't the Brady Bunch. It wasn't the most supportive and the happiest home. There were some issues that were going on there. I'm thankful for those issues because they created who I am today. But I grew up not having very much self-esteem. I grew up not thinking very highly of myself and trying to people please, always trying to prove myself and show that I was good enough. So when I had my children, I decided that I wanted to create change. I wanted to try to make sure that my girls didn't go through what I went through, that they didn't grow up with low self-esteem, not having a lot of worth, with that inner struggle. It was more about the inner struggle than it really was anything in the outside world of, paying the bills or getting a job or anything like that. It was more about, I didn't want them to have that inner struggle of not knowing that they had this permanent worth that we all have. We all have this, but very few of us know it. Very few of us recognize it. And even if we do know it, some of us may say, yeah, I'm worth something, but we don't really believe it. So that became my passion at a very young age, that if I could fix myself, then I could save my girls. That was my whole goal. I wanted to save my girls from living the life that I had lived. So I kind of ended up in the counseling field. I wasn't my first intention to be a counselor, even though in my life and with my friends and even family and like my stepmom, I was the counselor. That's who I was. People came to me, they talked to me. It was just my role. And then um, going to college, what was happening was I was actually going to be a physical therapist. And um, every time I would get close to where I would switch to the university, they would up that degree. And I would have to like take more classes and take more classes. And it was like, oh, what, you know. So I finally took this course in college that was, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it kept coming up that I should be either a counselor or a hairstylist, which I think hairstylists are kind of counselors. And, you know, so the teacher was a counselor, the professor was a counselor, and she said, April, why don't you do what I do? I'm a counselor here. I teach a couple courses. I only have to work like 32 hours a week. I can travel. And I said, okay. And I switched everything over. And that's really where things just kind of started falling in place. And I started realizing that this is what I've always been doing, and this is my natural role. And then once I got into that and started doing my internship it took me many years to get my degree. I started realizing that the low self-esteem was like, it was an epidemic. It was an epidemic and it was worldwide. It doesn't matter what country you're in or where you're from or your race or anything like that. That low self-esteem is really an epidemic that almost all of us struggle with. And it became even more of my passion to not only heal myself and my girls, but to heal others. So the slogan of my business is that I'm healing one soul at a time. Upon COVID, I decided I wanted to start to heal thousands at a time. So the goal's a little high, but so the thing about self-esteem is this. Self-esteem is developed between the ages of 0 and 7. That's where it gets developed at. And the child is in what we call theta state. Theta state is a hypnosis state, which is a programming state. And there's some other big teachers out there. Bruce Lipton talks about it. Joe Dispenza talks about it. But the child's brain is actually in theta state, which is programming. So everything that's happening in the child's life, they're literally observing and absorbing. And it starts to build a definition, a self-definition of who and what they are and what their worth is. And most of us come from families that are not the happiest families. Most of us come from families where there's some sort of dysfunction, or there's some sort of maybe mental health issue, or maybe dad has depression or things like this. And these all get absorbed into us. We don't even actually have to have words. So we can have the physical where maybe mom or dad or whoever the caretaker is mean to us, like they say, you're not worth something, but they don't even actually have to say it out loud because we're observing everything and it's getting documented. So if we have a mom who perhaps is depressed or something, and so she's stressed out and she loves us, but she never seems to have time for us, that is getting absorbed between the age of 0 and 7, and that's sending a message to the child. Those messages become the dictator of what you think your worth is. They determine how much worth you think you have. Well, people don't seem to want to spend time with me because mom is always kind of stressed and like, just go play. And I'm not throwing mom or dads under the bus. We are products of our environment. This isn't to make mom or dad bad. Perhaps mom was just stressed. Perhaps mom didn't have all the tools she needed to be able to do life, do kids, do work, do all these things that moms are supposed to do. And mom was just tired and was like, just go play. But the child takes it as a message of, I'm not important. That gets programmed in the subconscious mind between the ages of 0 and 7. So once the child makes a determination, this is the most phenomenal thing to me, you guys. Between the ages of 0 and 7, we decide what our worth is. We decide and we make a decision that I'm not worth people's time. That decision, that message follows us for the rest of our life. It follows you when you're 40, when you're 50, when you're 60. You're still running off of that same program, that same message. So my job is to go in and change the message. My job is to go in and rewrite the message and to realize it really wasn't that you didn't have work. It was that mom was stressed and mom didn't know what else to do. Okay, so the subconscious mind holds your programming. It holds all those messages, all those decisions that you made from 0 to 7. The conscious mind is the one that says, I'm sitting here in a chair and I'm talking. It knows what I'm doing right now, but the subconscious mind holds all your garbage and it drives your bus. It drives the bus. So unless you become aware of the programming in your subconscious mind, you won't be able to change those inner core messages. So what I do is I take you through a program where we get into what are those core messages? What are they? Where'd they come from? What message did you get from mom? What message did you get from dad? What was the message you got from school? Were you the popular kid? Were you the kid over in the corner? Were you shy? Were you in a friend group where you were always the third person? What was the message you got from that? And then we take those messages and we change them, we flip them, and then we reprogram them. We reprogram them in the mind in a new way. So we can actually reprogram the mind. The mind, if you want to look at it like, if you have a trail in the woods, okay, you have a trail in the woods and you walk on that trail every day, what's going to happen? The trail is going to wear down. The grass is going to go away. The branches are going to go away. And you're going to be walking on the dirt and the gravel. The brain likes to be lazy. So the brain likes to take the fastest trail, the clearest trail. When you want to reprogram the mind, we have to learn to do it over and over and over to where we now are wearing the grass down on the new trail. We are now pushing the branches back on the new trail. So you can actually, the brain has this thing called neuroplasticity. So you can actually rewire the brain. The problem is that the brain likes to be lazy. So it wants to go down the trail that's already worn down. But we can reroute it. We can make a new trail. And that other trail, if you imagine, the grass will kind of grow back over it. If you stop going down a trail, the grass will grow back over it, right? So when we rewire the brain, we're telling the brain, I want you to go down this new trail. If you do that enough, you have now rewired the brain and you now will stop thinking so negatively about yourself. You will stop having that pattern. We've rewired the brain. So there's a couple ways to do that. One is we put you back in theta state. So we either do meditations or we do hypnosis. You can listen to meditation at night. We can do it during the day. We put you back into that theta programming state. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is repetition. So one of the things that I teach you is to learn to become aware of your thoughts. So you're kind of stepping outside of yourself and you're doing self-observance. What am I thinking right now? What thoughts am I having? Most of us spend most of our time either in the past or in the future, but we're not in the present moment and we're not aware of what we're thinking. So if I can get you to start to pay attention to your thoughts and I can get you to start stopping them, and you do that enough, we will rewire the brain. You will stop thinking so negative. You will stop having those negative thoughts about yourself. So to give you an example, there's a guy, Michael Singer. is his name. He wrote The Untethered Soul. He has an example in his book, because the thing that I get the most from people is they'll say, I don't know what I'm thinking. I can't control my thoughts. So he has you close your eyes and he says, just say hello in your head. Don't say it out loud. Just say hello in your head. And then he says, well, who said that? Did you hear it? So you heard it, right? You just stop and say hello in your head. He's like, you know, you said it, but you didn't hear it with your ears. That's a thought. So you can notice your thoughts. You can pay attention to them. And when I have people say, well, I can't notice my thoughts, I'm like, well, wait a minute, we just did it. We just noticed a thought. So I get you to step outside of yourself and start to pay attention to those thoughts. And we changed the messages that you got from that age of 0 to 7, and we put a new mantra, in a sense, in there. We put a new mantra of I'm good enough, of I'm worthy of time, of I'm lovable. We put a new mantra in there. And what happens is this amazing thing happens is over time, what you'll find is you'll stop thinking negative, or your thoughts will just be neutral. That negative thought pattern won't happen anymore. It'll literally stop happening. So, and then the other thing that I work a lot on is so a lot of people have this kind of issue with, well, if my dad doesn't like me, then I must not be worthy. If my mom doesn't approve of me, then I must not be worthy. Because our parents get this godlike persona. Their mom and dad, right? They get this like godlike persona. So the only way I can get people normally to understand this is many of us, most of us, have had a supervisor or a CEO or a manager. We even have, like, you know, you can even all the way go up to like some presidents that really shouldn't be managers. They really shouldn't be supervisors, but they have the title. So just because mom or dad has that title doesn't mean that they were necessarily the best at their role. That doesn't mean that they're actually, you know, like they're godlike, like we should just like everything they say is that's it, because they have this title, mom or dad. Okay, they're people and they're functioning at their level, that they, with what they have inside of them, they are not the telltale of your worth. They're just humans. Okay, so if you can understand that just because they got the title mom or dad doesn't mean that they necessarily had all the qualifications, because they're functioning as a human. And then it depends on if they're functioning at full capacity, what they were given. So in reality, if you can look at it that way, then they don't get to determine your worth. They never actually did get to determine it. But because we're so little and we need them to survive, we think that they get this, you know, like they're gods. But if you can really wrap your head around that, then you can realize that you are in charge of your worth. You are the one that's in charge. And that you are the one that gets to determine how much you're worth. So that's another thing that I work on a lot. So I think one of the last examples that I want to give you is this. A lot of people think that their worth is tied to what they do. Your worth is not tied to what you do. In my life, I had a lot of issues with achieving, overachieving. A lot of us have issues with being perfectionists, with trying to do too much. You know, many of us are business owners, so we're doing that, plus we're doing kids and we're doing, you know, all these things. But worth is innate. You don't have to do anything to be worthy. Nothing. Zero. So because I've had hundreds of babies in my life, not hundreds, but I have tons of babies in my life. Babies are my perfect example. What do babies actually do? Babies spit up, they cry, they poop their pants, they don't sleep when they're supposed to, They throw fits. So if I was to say to you, I'm going to give you a person, they're going to spit up, they're going to cry, they're going to throw a fit, they're going to poop their pants too, they're going to puke, they're not going to sleep. You'd be like, oh, what are you doing? I don't think so. Right. But they're worth everything. Your worth is not tied to what you do. Your worth is innate. What you do helps to fulfill a purpose, but it is not tied. What you do is tied to your purpose, but is not tied to your worth. You have infinite worth. And if I can, that is probably one of the bigger messages that I want everybody to know. You don't have to do anything to be worthy. You have it, period. So you can tell me, what else would you like me to say or talk about?
I think that was pretty amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I do know that I was inspired because, it's a great reminder that, especially with the child being developed between those specific ages, and you said that was from 0 to 7, it's very intriguing to me because, I mean, it's true. It's so true. And it's intriguing to me and I'm sure any other parent right now who has a child under 7 who's trying to remember, oh yeah, like I want to make sure I'm doing my best, even though my upbringing was terrible. I want to make sure my child has the best experience that we can and make sure that they know their worth in the process. So I think that was extremely helpful. Thank you so much, April. We really appreciate having you today. And I just want to say thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, ladies of Empower, for being with us today. We appreciate that you are a part of our group. We are going to be making some changes to Empower Hour moving forward, and we'll be making those announcements in the future. And when that happens, it's going to be something really fun. So we hope everybody has a wonderful day, a phenomenal beginning of their September, and we hope to see you next Wednesday at 12. Have a nice day, everybody.